Now we're back to talk about some boxing. It's Sunday. I'm hoping everybody enjoyed your weekend. But I'm here to talk a little bit of boxing for all the boxing casuals, aficionados, whatever you want to call yourselves. The fight last night between Tank Davis and Lamont Roach. Upset alert, man. And then the undercard was really good, from what I heard. Between with the performance with Garyantuannerussell with his win over Jose Valenzuela, where he won his super lightweight championship. So let's go ahead and talk about it. Go ahead and let me know what you guys think in the comments. Do you think that Roach won this fight? Do you think that Tank Davis won the fight? And if you thought Roach won the fight, do you think that he was robbed? Do you think that he clearly won the fight? Looking at this fight, man, I didn't pay for the pay per view, but I did see the highlights. I found one that had sped up highlights. They cut out the corner in between, but the way I saw it, I thought that Lamont Roach, coming up from 130 pounds as a champion there, I thought he did very well in this fight. The way I had it scored, I had round one. It was a quiet round. I thought Roach won that. He landed three punches to Tank's one, and I just thought that even though it was a feel out round for both of them, Roach was controlling the center of the ring, which was the theme for the fight, and he was stalking Gervonta Davis. And he wasn't, but he was doing so with effective and smart aggression. He wasn't jumping in like a crash test dummy. He was just moving forward, taking the temperature, and setting the tone for the entire fight. And I had round one to him. I thought round two, Tank was able to win that round, had some of the better shots there. Round three, I had Lamont Roach. Round four, I had Tank. And then in the middle rounds, I thought that Tank Davis had a clean sweep pretty much in rounds five, six, and seven, more or less. Round eight, I thought Lamont Roach responded pretty well. So it was a 5-3 fight at that point for me. And then from that point on, I thought that Lamont Roach took the momentum from round eight and started turning it up slowly but surely. Because in round nine, that was the one that was controversial. Because the last time I checked, when you take a voluntary knee, that's supposed to count as a knockdown. Like, you're not supposed to get up and have the round continue. So I don't know what the referee Steve Willis was doing or thinking in that situation. Because I'll have to go back and look at the film, but it didn't look like he got hit with a big shot or anything leading up to that. So it was really bizarre that he took a knee. And after the fight, he expressed that he got some grease in his eye because his hairstylist had did his braids, I guess, 2 days ago, and she put too much grease in there. And when he started sweating, it got into his eye and he couldn't see. A plausible explanation, but nonetheless, you still took a knee in the middle of the round. A point should have been deducted. They should have counted that as a knockdown. I forgot the name of the fighter that Mayweather was fighting back in the day, but Floyd Mayweather had to take a knee. Maybe he hurt his hand or whatever the case was, but they took a point away from Floyd Mayweather for that. They didn't just let him get back up and continue like nothing happened. So that round, I thought Lamont Roach was winning it, and then you had the extra point for the knockdown on my scorecard. And then round 10, I had for Roach. At points in there, I think it was round 10, correct me if I'm wrong, he was chipping Tank. He was able to land some pretty good shots. Round 11 was a back and forth affair. I just thought that Lamont Roach was able to still say, this is the center of the ring. I'm landing almost as much, if not as many punches as you, and I'm establishing the center of the ring as my domain, almost like you do in chess. If you can control the center of the board, then you're going to be in great position to win the fight, i.e., win the game, the chess match. So the way I saw it, he was the one that was making Tank Davis go backwards, even when he was landing on the guard and not scoring points. Whereas Tank Davis, even when he was landing on the guard, he wasn't punching through the guard and sending Roach backward. Roach was standing his ground like, I'm not affected by the speed. I'm not affected by your pressure. I'm not affected by your power. I'm really not scared of you. And he just stood his ground the entire night and just walked forward like a mini tank. So that's why I scored a lot of these later rounds for Lamont Roach, because when he started getting active and getting busy, Tank would respond back, but then Roach would be right there in his face. So I really liked Roach in round 11 and round 12 as well. Now, one or two of these rounds could be a swing round. I'm not saying it couldn't be, but in my mind, I picked the guy that was still landing a good amount of punches. It was even to me, more or less. He actually threw a lot more, and he was being more active, and he was pressing forward. So I liked what Lamont Roach was able to do. He wasn't intimidated, and I thought he won this fight by a score of 7-5, which would be 115 to 113, or 115 to 112 if you include what should have been the knockdown in round 9. So on the official scorecards, you had two judges scored a draw for the fight, and then you had one judge scored 115 to 113 for Gervonta Davis. So it became a majority draw decision. I'm not. I don't think it was a draw. I think if you were going to award a draw, that was the best that Tank Davis could get out of that fight. So I think that they favored him there. That's just my opinion. I'm just a guy. But I thought that Lamont Roach won it by 1 round. So I really was impressed. I did not think he would win this fight going into it. I thought that he had pretty good skills, and they have history. I think they sparred before, but I thought that it would be a good fight. But I didn't see Tank knocking him out. I just thought Tank would win a decision because I thought that Lamont Roach was a really tough fighter who's not intimidated by Tank, and he's cerebral. Like you're not going to get away with trying to play possum and getting him to jump forward like a crash test dummy. Like I didn't see that, but I didn't know if he had enough to press through and really make Tank respect his skills, and he did that. Particularly power wise with the body shots, and this was one of the first people to test Tank to the body, and it paid dividends for Lamont Roach. So I had him winning by a round. Let me know what you guys think. What did the decision make sense to you? Who did you have winning? And if you had Roach winning, do you think he got robbed? Me personally, I do think that it wasn't the worst robbery I've ever seen, but I think it was pretty clear that Lamont Roach came here and earned that belt. He should have came out the champion tonight, my personal opinion. So, it is what it is, but they have to run it back via contract, so they're going to run it back again. And we'll see what happens. Hopefully, Roach can finish the job. They saw each other for 12 rounds, so we'll see what adjustments they make in the rematch. Let me know in the comments below. And lastly, I want to go ahead and, let me go ahead and talk about potential fights moving forward real quick. So you had Keyshawn Davis obviously had the big win. He got his first belt recently. And he's sitting there. He's waiting for Tank. He called out Tank. He said, "Yo, you've been avoiding me for years. You know that I'm looking for you." I'm paraphrasing. And Shakur Stevenson had the win over Padley on the Bivol Better BF undercard. Didn't look his best, but the hands have been an issue. But even though I think you have to give both guys credit. Shakur Stevenson credit for being able to get the win, even though it looked not pretty at times, and Padley for coming in and being able to go 9 rounds with Shakur. Because I think people are forgetting that Padley is ranked higher than Floyd Kid Austin. So this wasn't just some pushover, even though he was coming in on 4 days' notice. The fact of the matter that he wasn't really able to touch Shakur. I still think that Shakur would give Tank Davis serious problems. Now, I think that Shakur would have issues against some of the other guys like Ryan Garcia and Keyshawn Davis, but against Tank Davis, I think it's a stylistic matchup nightmare for Tank Davis because you can't sit and box on the outside with Shakur, and Shakur is fast. And then when you try to cross the void, you already know the defense is crazy, and the counter punching, he's sending missiles back at you. So, I'm not here to judge any man, any boxer, but what I will say is Tank Davis, he strategically picked his path and the opponents that he's faced to get to the point where he's at. And unfortunately for him, he hasn't fought the best guys in his division that he could as he moved up in the ranks, and thus he hasn't sharpened his skills maybe as much as he should. So now he ran into a fighter in Lamont Roach. Lamont Roach, very very good fighter, still getting better, but not a top level guy at this weight class. At 130, very very good champion, but at 135, this is new territory for him. So the fact that he had so many problems with Lamont Roach, and in my opinion, Lamont Roach was able to take it to him at times and win this fight. Now he's going to have to run it back with Roach, and then after that, now you're going to have to see some of these guys that you should have fought before that now are on the upswing while you're on at least an even plateau or a downtrend that we may not be aware of yet. Keyshawn Davis, maybe if you catch him 2 or 3 years ago, you might be able to get him up out of there. But now you got to see him now, a more seasoned fighter, a few more wins over under his belt. Now he has more confidence, even more confidence than he had before with the belt to boot. So like he knows who he is. He knows that he has a longer frame and he knows how to use it. So now it's going to be 10 times tougher seeing him. Now you got to see Shakur, and these guys have been watching you as well. They've been watching the competition. They've been looking for little chinks in the armor. So this, I'm just saying, man, like maybe it might have been better to really cement the legacy beforehand before you had to run into some stiffer competition. You know what I'm saying? So let me know what you guys think about that. And then lastly, I want to get to one of the undercard fights, and it was a really really good fight, particularly because and I don't want to see somebody get dominated in the fight, but it was impressive the way that Antuanne Russell was able to defeat Jose Valenzuela, who had the belt. He had the WBA super lightweight title, and you know. At 140, this is a new weight class for, well, not new weight class, but Russell's been trying to establish himself here, and he just had a tough loss, a split decision loss in this last fight, and I heard about this in on social media, so I went and before I looked at the highlight clips from the fight, I went and looked at the pre-fight workouts for each fighter, and I looked at Antuanne Russell's workout, and he looked super fast. He looked like he looked like he was moving in sped up motion. Punches were crisp, reaction time was crazy, defense was on point, confidence was there on 1,000. He hitting the mitts with his brother holding them. They just looked like they were in sync. And I'm looking at some of the combos, the defensive mannerisms, some of the little subtle nuances when they would, he would catch a punch, shoot the jab back, and then just vary up the timing and the speed, and then they stopped and they said, "Yo, we about to get him." And I'm like, "Whew, that's one of the best pre-fight workouts that I've seen in a long time." And then I looked at Valenzuela's, and it was a very very good workout, but it didn't match the intensity that I saw from Russell's. It didn't match the sharpness. It looked very good, but I just didn't know if good was going to be good enough, and it wasn't in that fight, unfortunately for him. I mean, from the get-go, I'm just looking at the highlights, and the speed disparity was so apparent early on, and not just the speed disparity, but Antuanne Russell's perception of distance and timing, and just every time Venezuelan would try to establish a jab or establish some type of offense, he was getting beat to the punch every time. And by round 6, he was starting to get tagged a little bit. Round 7, that's when it started to get really bad. He was catching some clean shots, and you fast forward to round 10, and you might be able to give him one round. You might be able to give him one round if you were being generous. And on the judges' scorecard, it was a unanimous decision. It wasn't really hard to score. 2 judges had it 119 to 109, which is 11 rounds to 1, and then 1 judge had it 120 to 108, and that's a clean sweep. So, congratulations to Russell for winning that title, man. That's a big moment that he's never going to forget, and they can never take that moment away from you. Congrats to our man, and congrats to his brother for being able to see that. I mean, they're both very very skilled fighters, and they've had quite a journey up to this point, highs and lows, but they've seemed to bounce back and be better for us. So I'm very impressed, man, with not just the fighting skill, but the character and the intestinal fortitude it takes to really fight through some adversity and fight back uphill. So great job, and definitely giving Lamont, Roach, and Russell their flowers. So that's my thoughts on the fight weekend. Let me know what you guys think, and I will catch you on the next episode. Enjoy your weekends. Be safe out there. Peace.